that virus exposing, and also what do theater artists do? What should we do? What can we do? Theater artists are on the right side of progressive justice, the complex struggle for freedom and liberties. And all the experiences are so vastly different. In America, we still have over a million cases. I think over 100,000 people died. It's a disaster. There's social unrest on the street for very good reasons. We talked a lot. Black Lives Matter movement is out there, and it is some say a perfect storm. And maybe we will see a summer of unrest, perhaps even violence. It's no trust in government and civic leaders, no trust in the workspace and the bosses, uncertainty at home. People in America, when they lose their job, they lose their health insurance. 45 million filed for unemployment. It's a disaster, and the temperatures are rising. There will be hot July nights and August, so we don't know what will happen. As we know, theater is always on the side of doing the right thing. When you're in doubt, you always do the right thing. But we believe in telling stories, telling complex stories. Just yesterday, we had the great Spider Women theater company from New York, the oldest indigenous Native American theater company led by women. And we heard about their lives and how complicated it was, and how they have been pushed to the side and mistreated in their long lives. And they are still trying to make a sense out of it. And they feel it's now also time for them to take care of themselves. So many of their family members died, company members, friends. They seem to also be hit harder by the virus. So it is a very, very complicated time. We do live in cases are going up again, 15% perhaps in America. In Europe, cities that open are forced to close part of it down. So all does not look very good at the moment. And now we are turning our attention today, a very significant part of the world, the Caribbean. We have the French-speaking Caribbean islands, the English-speaking ones like Jamaica. We might have people there from next week. But today we have a great artist with us who also has been at the Segal for our Caribbean theater project, which was Action Caribe Théâtrale, which was the very, very first series of play readings from different playwrights from the Caribbeans ever, actually, shockingly enough. And Daniely Francisque, a French Caribbean actress, director, playwright, and she's one of the leading figures in Martinique, a co-director of the company Compagnie Théâtrale. And since 1904, she has been performing, doing theater. We did her great play, She Devil, and she was named as a Knight of Arts and Letters by the Ministry of Culture in France, something we all dream about, but no one of us gets it. Daniely, thank you for joining and being here with us. We promised a translator, but somehow we didn't fully make it happen. But I do remember from your talks at the Segal that you did very well. So welcome. Where are you right now? What time is it?
Oh, hello everybody. I'm in Martinique, a little French Caribbean island, and it's 11 noon, like in New York.
Same time.
Yeah, it's the same time, and it's hot and it's windy, and there are a lot of pollution in the air, and that's it. We okay. I'm very happy to be here with you.
Thank you. Tell us a bit. How is time of Corona for you?
It was a time of rest. I took time to be quiet, to take silence, to have time, and to read, to connect with nature. I live in the countryside here in Martinique, in the south of Martinique, and there is a lot of trees and and birds and animals, farm animals. So I took time to just be here at the moment, at the present time. And I was thinking about my grandma and what she learned me. And I took some some leaves in the garden and put it in water in the rain. I have some rain collected here in my garden, and I made some bath of nature with flowers, with leaves of my garden, and I was just washing with that, with the nature, and it was very good for me. I was connecting with a sort of spirituality, my spirituality, but the way we do it here in Martinique, in the Caribbean, like my grandma learned me, was doing, and it was really good for me. And I'm also writing a new playwright, a new play, and I was and this was helping me. The nature was helping me to write it down, because it's about nature, my origins, my culture, how culture here in Martinique, who are Caribbean, African, European, we are a mix of all that. And there's a lot of question of identity about that, that's coming out about that, colonialism also. So I was thinking about all of that during the COVID time, trying to make a theater that is more true for me, that's coming from my heart and my origins and my essential way to be. I was searching about that. And I was taking time with my son, because here schools were closed. So I was teaching him at home about mathematics and French and all that. And it was okay to do that also. And it was cool because I was not running around for my job and all that things we do every day. And it was really, really good for me to take time, in fact.
So you slowed down.
Yes. Oh, that's so good. And I was thinking about how we run every day, how fast we live, in fact, how things make you live fast and put you out of yourself, in fact. So it was good for me to live slowly and take time to just breathe and be myself here and now with the nature, with the sun, the sky, the rain, the wind, the nature, the birds, the everything. I'm coming from nature. I am the nature. Nature is me, and it was important to connect to this essential thing.
You felt you had lost the connection to nature in the last years.
Yeah. I lost it because I don't take time. In fact, I don't take time to just put my foot on the ground, and there's a lot of power there. There's a lot of power. I really feel that, because it's like a way to refill myself. Do you say that? You understand my English?
Yeah, absolutely. Your English is very, very good.
Oh, thank you. It was a way to refill myself, because I feel that during all these days of working and going around the world, I was not taking time for me, and I was not taking enough time to connect with nature. It's very important, and really, I realized that how much nature was important to be for me to be vertical, to be great, to be happy, to be good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you talked about your grandmother. What did she teach you? You said, I remember. Tell us about her. What did she do and what did she teach you?
My grandmother name was Laura. And in fact, when I was very, very young, I was a child. My mom had to go in France to work. So she let me here in Martinique with my grandmother, who became my mother. And I lived here in Martinique with my grandmother, who was like my second mother. And she learned me about, I think, nature, about the power of leaves, because she knew medicines with the garden. In the garden, we always have plants whose healing what you have, about stomach, about headache, or anything. She knew that, in fact, and she was doing some teas for me to wash me inside. She was giving me how do you say that, fruits, and she was cultivating. You understand? Okay.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, yes.
Herself, and it was a way to eat. It was a way to be touched by her. It was a way for her to teach me about traditional stories and tales. I learned to be scared with her, and I learned to pray with her, how to get rid of phantoms or spirits, terrifying spirits. And in fact, she learned me about the culture, the traditional culture, coming from her own heritage. She learned me also, but I didn't realize at that time. But now I realize how she was organizing a space, a house, how she was cleaning a house, and why she was cleaning the house, and how she was doing it. It was not just take a wash on the floor, and not that. No, it was not that. It was a washing of the universe of the house. It was the washing of the spirits of the house. It was connecting with the spirits living here in the house with you, and whom you live with, in fact. I didn't understand that when I was young, but now I'm really feeling that. Perhaps when you're young, you don't feel that as strong as when you're grown up, and now I really feel that. And I can say to you that my grandma was dead, more than 10 years ago, 14 years ago. But I feel her. I feel that I don't know if she talks to me, I don't know that, but I feel her in my jest and in what I'm doing. I'm feel her. And I think that I always ask me, why do I do theater? I think that my grandma was an actress. She was a comedian. She was a great tragedian, and she always she was happy to tell us stories, but to make us scare, to customize, to put costume on her, and just boo, doing things like that. And she's the memory of the family. She's, in Martinique we have a term to call that. It's the poteau mitant. It's like a strong poteau in the middle of the house. That's Okay.
A beam,
And
yeah, a beam.
yes, and just she
Oh,
all the house, all the family can appuyer sur elle.
can lean on her,
Can lean on
you know,
her,
can
and
rest on her, yeah.
can rest on her. And after all those years after she disappeared, but she's always here in our stories, in our laughs, and we think a lot about her. And now I live where I live is on the where my grandparents were cultivating, and I live in their house, their home, in fact. I live here, and it's during the time we were confined,
Confined,
confined.
lockdown.
I was feeling a lot about. I was feeling them a lot. I was feeling a lot the ones who passed, but I really realized that they are here. They are. We can't see them, but they are here. They are here, and I can talk with them.
So you talked with them?
I try to talk with them, and I try to understand what they say to me and how they communicate with me. They don't talk to me, but it's more a matter of feeling them. I feel them a lot, and I realize that they are not the only one. There's a lot of dead people in our families. And for me, I realized that the spirits of all that people was here with me, are here with me. And I try to communicate and live with them and realize and incorporate them in my life, in what I was doing around my house, in my house, how I was living in my house. It was important for me to feel them, to talk with them, and I feel that it made me stronger. It made me larger. Like, really, I'm not alone, in fact. There's a lot of people around me, and I'm a lot of people. They are all inside of me, and they are all around me, and I am not alone. And I feel really powerful with that, and really much stronger.
And they have been always around you, but maybe we didn't feel them as strongly or listened as carefully then.
Yes, and with us, the story of COVID, I was telling myself that it was important to come back to what is essential, in fact. And what is essential is what is me, myself, and I, but also the nature around me, and also my family, my living family, but also I told myself that the dead people are my family also, and they are there. They are here. In fact, they are there, and it was a kind of this is my universe. I realized that this is all that is my universe, and my essential universe. So I can go now in the world, or in my work, or around the world, and running how I was doing it, but all with my whole universe. It was important for me.
That's in a way also a very beautiful spiritual experience of nature, your home, your ancestors' gardens, and to reconnect.
And I realized that really strongly when I went in the Congo last November. Yeah, just before New York, when we met in December, and I went there to play, just to act my play there, one of my plays, and I had some strong feelings about that land, because we went on the slave roads where slaves were captured and and put in the boats and sold and all of that. And it was really, I was very sad about that. It makes me a lot of emotions, in fact. And I was looking at the landscape 4 centuries after, 3 or 4 centuries after, and I was still feeling their presence there, and I was still feeling that. I was still, there were still the place where they were sold. There was a lot of trees because the slaves was eating some fruits, the mango fruit, you know, they were eating some mango fruit, and just you throw the le noyau,
the
you
nut,
know,
yeah, the current, yeah,
and just throw it down, and
the seed.
this, yeah, this made some trees on this road of slavery, and so each tree was a memory of them. Each part of the landscape for me was a part of them. And then when I came back in Martinique, I was looking around me, looking the landscape differently, asking myself, wow, where did they work? Where did they die? How were they living? Are they here? Where did they disappear? Did they disappear? I was asking myself all of that, and I really felt that it was important for me to reconnect with their spirits. In fact, because here in Martinique, in the way that we were colonized by France, we learn also to forget. We learn also to erase. We learned also not to recognize our origins because it's past, and it's not. You have to forget your story to go ahead. We learned that, and my grandma was telling me that. Just she didn't like everything who are too much African or all of that. But she was telling me that, but in the way she was living, there are a lot of things that are very African. In fact, the African culture is in our culture also, and with all of this culture of forgiveness, is that it was important for me. It's make a long time for me that it's important for me to remember. It's important for me to remember them, remember where I come from, remember to understand, just to understand who, which human being I am. Where do I come from? Yes, I'm Caribbean. I was born here in Martinique. I'm French nationality, but I'm brown, I'm black. So where do I come from? I didn't understand, and this question of my origins lead me to do theater, to write theater, to understand, to question, and to show and to share about this story, because it's important to know who you are. And I think that here in Martinique, or I will talk for Martinique only, this way to erase memory make people sick in their relation with themselves, because you're black, but you learn that black is not beautiful, black is dirty, black is nasty. You learn that. In my family, there's a lot of mixed people. In my family, we are all black. There's no métissage. I don't know how you say that.
No mix, yeah. mixed race.
But in my Black family, there are a lot of different skin
shades, yeah, of blackness.
Yeah, there's a lot of different shades. And my grandma was doing a difference with her child who were dark skin, and the other who were lighted, I don't know,
light skin.
Light skin.
Absolutely.
And when I didn't understand that, and now that I have to learn, I have to question the story to understand why a mother was discriminate her own child, and was telling the dark one that she's not good, she's not beautiful, she's not. I didn't understand that. And then all this question of identity were essential, and marked a lot theater here in Martinique, or in the Caribbean, the French Caribbean, and my theater, in fact, also. And all of that, I had to go further in all that question. And I know my history. Our history is a little learned here in the schools, because we better know French story than Martinican story. It's not learned, not teach.
You don't learn about Martinique history and the
not really
slave trade and African connection.
You don't learn about yourself. You don't learn about your land. We don't learn about your history. We don't learn about your geography. We don't learn about that. If you want to know that, you have to do your own researches. And it's for me, it's not normal. Huh? It's not normal. Nowadays, it's not normal not to teach our story in school, at school, and that's why this question of know yourself is very important for me. And know myself is my origins, okay, African origins, but also female. how women exists here in the Caribbean or here in Martinique. What is the role of the woman, and how she struggle, how she cross history, in fact, since slavery to nowadays. It's important for me, and all these questions are still in my head, and during the confined period, it was the case also.
So it came, in a way, it cooked all up, and it was materialized, even so you were alone, and
yes,
everything came that was lying in the basements, in the archaeological levels of our existence, as Jung said. When he when he was dreaming, he said, I dream of my house, first floor, then the ground floor, then the basement, a basement under a basement, and sometimes of the basement under the basement, the prehistoric one. And this is all what we carry with us. Tell us a little bit about your theater. You said, this is what I do in my theater. What's your theater?
In fact, I was when I explain my theater, I have to explain my life.
Please
so
go ahead.
You know a little about my culture, about Martinique. I was born in Martinique, and my mother led me to my grandmother and grandfather to go in France to take some work. So it was a period where a lot of French Caribbean were migrated in France. Migrating in France to find work.
They went to Paris, or where did they go?
Around in the suburbs of Paris and suburbs principally, and I was alone with my grandmother, and then my grandmother flied with me to France when I was I don't know, 8 years old, and and I grown up in suburbs of Paris, Parisian suburbs, and where there were it was really mixed. It was mixed people from Africa, from China, from Algeria, Morocco, all these countries, Tunisia, all that, and it was really mixed at school, and it was really rich for me to be in the world, in fact, to be with the other, because you learn a lot about yourself when you're with the other. And then I do all my education in this region, Parisian region, and when I came at the university, I was learning English a long time ago, so that's why my English is not really.
It's very good. It's very, very good.
I was learning English and Spanish at the university, and
which university did you go to?
I went to the now it's called Paris 8. Vincennes University was very a militant university, and I learned the languages, and that's where I decided to take to learn about African story and Latin American, South America story too. And that's where I really realized this story of slavery, of wow, the world who was really of this story of violence, in fact, where I come from. In fact, I understand that my story is the story of slavery and violence and rape and economic stuffs too. So that's what made me go to theater, because I was wondering why nobody told me about that. I was 22 years old when I understand that my story has never been my story have never been taught to me before in the French schools. I didn't know about it. And that's how I said to myself, so if I don't know this story, my mother doesn't know this story, my grandmother doesn't know this story, my fellows don't know this story, I have to make something to share this story, to make people know about that. It's important to know who you are and where you come from. And that's how my first play, I didn't know what was theater, in fact. But theater, I think that theater chose me to to share this story to the other, and that's how I was born for the second time of my life in theater, telling about the how my people was born also, and it was a sort of revolution in my life, in fact. And I write my first play. I didn't know what was theater. I knew Molière, I know Racine, I know all that people, but this didn't really interest me really, in fact, when I was young. It was all theater and not very important for me. And at this moment when I understood that I can tell my own story in theater, that theater became for me something very essential. And that's how I wrote that first play about slavery. The first play was in Creole. It was the name was Neg Pacamo, which means nigger never die. Nigger never die. And it was with about 20 or 30 students from Caribbean, French Caribbean in France, who were in the same question with me about who they are. They didn't know. Some of them had never went to the West Indies. They didn't know West Indies. They were born in France and they are living there, but they feel they are different. They show them that they were different. There were racism about them, not me too, but they didn't really understand, where this racism came from. And it was important for everyone. This display transformed every one of the little troupe who are playing the play. It was something really essential for us. It was coming from our roots, our heart, a very engaged theater and very important for us. And then this play, for this play, because I didn't know theater, I didn't want to play neither because I was really shy. And I didn't. It was not possible for me to go on a place and to take no, I didn't want that. So, but theater chose me, so it decided that I was going to play in the play. So at this moment, I met Luc Saint-Éloi. Luc Saint-Éloi, that you know, who's coming from, is a director who's coming from Guadeloupe, and who we met and who came and then direct the play, in fact. And that's how everyone was doing theater for the first time of their life. And then Luc Saint-Éloi decided to take 3 members of the troupe and then make another play with them. And I was one of them. Also about in the same theme about who we are, about valorizing our songs, our culture. We were doing plays of Aimé Césaire. We are doing plays. He was doing plays with the songs of a great musician here in Martinique, whose name is Eugène Monat also. And then doing theater for me was, for a long time, learning about me, learning about the world, and telling the world who I was, because since the beginnings, Black theater in France existed. It was existing. There were a troupe whose name was Les Griots in the 1950. There was a theater in Paris whose name was the Black Theater, Le Théâtre Noir, in the 80s. But I didn't really know them because my parents didn't go to theater. I didn't really know them. And there was not a lot of ways or places where we can go and watch people looking that have the same appearance, who are Black like me, in fact. The only Blacks I was seeing is the African American Black people who is playing in the shows, TV shows. But in France, not really a lot of actors, of Black actors, who were really visible. In fact, there were Black actors, but they were not visible.
Not visible.
They're visible. So it was important for me to make theater to show us our story, to recognize us, to recognize our culture, to valorize who we were. It was important because there are no plays, there are no movie, there are no TV shows where we can see Black Caribbean people in France. Not really a lot, not really a lot. And at that time, and I think now a little also, it's important to make productions, to make plays, to play, and to with the Black actors, to tell stories that we know and that we have. It's important for us to tell about us, to share with the others, but to also to break this heritage of invisibility, and forgive who you are, forgive that, no, forgive, don't show you're Black, don't show that you have your specific, you're French and specific, no, don't show that. No, it was important for me to tell also, okay, we are French, but this is why we are French. This is how we are French, and this is the way we are, and we have the right to live the way we are. It's important. Yeah. And this is one of the reasons why I do theater, to make representation, to show, in fact, to show us, to make images that allow people and children to see themselves, to project themselves, to dream of themselves, because it's important. It's fundamental. It's essential for that. I think my theater is that. It's about who we are as people, but as women also. I think two of my plays, Hurricanes and She-Devil, Ladjables, are a lot about women, about violence towards women, sexual violence in families, incest in families, secret, silence, how we learn not to speak, not to tell, not to free yourself with saying things. In fact, I understand that we learn silence. We learn not to talk. We learn that, and I was questioning that, and I understood that perhaps that comes also from history, because here we live in a tiny island, and it's important, I think, in the colonial period or slavery period, it was important not to talk a lot, because when you talk too much, the talking should be dangerous. In fact, speaking a lot can be it can be dangerous or mortal. Talking too much can kill you, in fact. And this, I think, we have a special way to speak here about. We speak with silence also, I think. With each word you have a lot of silence beside. I think it's a big silence, and you have words that coming out like that, but I think silence is very, very important. So it's a sort of culture, and I still questioning that, the silence. And when I write plays, I also try to write the silence also, important. So in my second play, Hurricanes, it's a sort of familial thriller about a secret, a familial secret, and two women that don't know each other. A night of hurricane, closed in a little tiny house that floats with the wind, and then they are searching who they are. In fact, I think that perhaps all my plays talk about that. Who are you? Who are you? You don't know. There are a lot of characters who don't know who they are in my plays, I think, and who are searching who they are. And these two women are searching who they are, to search to understand who they are and who they are for each other, one another. And it's about this violence in the family, because my big question is about how the violence of history, because we were born in a sort of shock, violent shock like that, and how this violence continue to irrigate us to go in our way to be, way to live, way to be with the other, the way to the mechanism of domination, the sexual domination, and I am wondering a lot about domination, in the question of dominations and violence in the after the big story, violence in the big stories. So now violence in little stories, in intimate stories also. So in families, in our own bodies too. How violence continue to nous envahir, nous habiter.
How it lives inside you, yeah, and you carry it with you.
Yeah, you carry it with you. I think there are still the consequences of story, of the big slavery story in our little stories. And the other play is about Ladjables. Ladjables is it was a tale who my grandma was telling me about, a very beautiful lady who was seducing children. Also, she's dangerous for children, and seducing also men's, and the story tells that when you go with her, because she's very pretty, you can resist to her beauty. When you go after her, she can kill you. It's hard. So I was wondering who was that woman, that strong woman who didn't like men like that. So I decided to write a play about her, and it's a way for me to valorize also our traditional culture, oral culture. You understand? Orality culture, tales culture, and in fact, I was also in this play questioning about relationship between men and women, and how in our societies how you learn to be a man, how you learn to be a woman, and do that match. In fact, why there are conflicts between the men and women. And in fact, in that play, I focused more about men. In fact, I still questioning in fact about men with history, with slavery history and colonialism. Because my question, it's a question, is not I didn't really find the answer, but I was wondering how this system, this economic politic system, oppressed the men, in fact, and how they castrate men, in fact, of his power, economic power, politic power, and how do he live that? What are the consequences of that? And I think that still today, they are still castrated, because really in Martinique, there are a lot of men or women that have a responsibility in that society. But in fact, we still feel that we are a colonial land of France, a colonial possession of France. But we don't say that. It's not political correct to say that here in Martinique. But a lot of voices tell that also. There are a lot of people who telling that, and it's important to realize that, because during the COVID time and during the affair the affair of George Floyd here in Martinique, we had a lot of messages on Facebook, for example, showing all the people who are directing big institutions here in Martinique, state institution, or the big places, the real big places are directed by white men, 50 years old men. There are no black women, there are no black men, there are no Martinican, no way. So my question is, where are we? Why do we really? How do we really direct our country, Martinique? I don't think so. So still now, I was questioning that about the Martinican man. In fact, for me, it's a sort of castration of economic power, of his politic power, of the power of decision about his country. Is the same thing for women. And then I was wondering what was the consequences humanly for him about that. And I was wondering if the little places like families, like houses, were not the only place where they can be powerful. They can express their power, and also perhaps their frustrations. And I connected that with the violences on the women body, on the children body, and the Ladjables is also about that. It's also about how we are castrated of ourselves also, and how it's necessary to. We have an expression here that's coming from slavery, is about to maroon. I don't know if you say that. To maroon is to fly, to flee, to flee. To make rebellion. In fact, to be different, to go out of the system and to attack the system, or to create another way to be, another way to live together, and build another way to another society. And Ladjables, in fact, is you have all these messages in it. That is about my theater, and now I'm writing a new play that is a that concentrates all this theme a lot, also, but the new way. I think I don't really know how to write this play, because it's really a new way to write. I don't want to write like the previous plays, because I want to include this invisible world that I was telling you about, and that make this invisible world communicate with the visible world, and to make them walk together, make them act together. in fact, unify them. In fact, that was torn by history. I want to reunify invisible world and visible world and make them stronger together. In fact, and I'm questioning about how slavery don't exist here since a long time ago, but how we integrated the mechanism of domination, of auto-destruction, how we integrate that in our way to live, to be, to have relation with the other, and how this continue to destruct us by inside, and how it's necessary again to free ourselves, but another way, a way not for me. We are free. Slavery was abolished here in Martinique, and slavery was struggled here in Martinique, but humanly, I question how people manage to live after that, how they build themselves. I think that this humanity was profoundly hurted by history, and it's how it's necessary to se soigner, se penser,
to heal.
to heal each little les plaies.
Yeah, wound, or each each
and the wounds are invisible. They are invisible, and it's not easy to see them, but it's important. I think that theater, poetry can help us to Césaire, Aimé Césaire was telling, I think that, for example, the poetry of the words of Aimé Césaire helped a lot to go outside, to feel strong, to be proud, to find that. It was very important, and it's important that the arts help people to feel themselves better, to see where the wounds are cachés,
hidden,
and then to guérir les plaies, guérir.
Yeah, to heal, to make it right.
Yeah,
to
that.
Tend to it, and to become healthy. Yeah, this is a significant
it's
part
important.
of
there is a last thing that is important for me. It's to change, also contribute to change also the way we see ourselves, because I think that there's still a little way that we see ourselves not very important people in this world. We are not strong, but I think that to survive to this story, violent story, we had to develop our strengths. We have to develop a lot of skills that helped us to resist, humanly resist of that. And it's important for me not to just to say that no, I'm not a slave, or it's a poor slave, or it's not very. I'm not proud about this story. No, I'm proud about this story because, in fact, I resist. My grandmother and my ancestor resist, and They managed to resist about that, and we are a new population. We are a new people. We are young on this in this world. We managed to create another community with influences, strong influences from Africa, from Europe, but also from India, from China, from all the world is in the Caribbean. The whole world is in the Caribbean, and it makes humanities a very special humanity, and it's important to valorize that. I think arts are very important for that, to show people our skills, to show people our beauty, or not only the beauties. You can say also that also that there are places in us that are not really shining, that we have to change or to evaluate. I don't know, but it's important for. In fact, art have a central function for me about all that.
Yeah, this is very, very significant, what you say, and to find out who we are, to make visible what's invisible, to heal what's we carry with us in a shadow DNA. And I like your thoughts about silence, that silence helped to survive. And see, everyone in your family, they are survivors. As you said, we were strong, we survived. And John Cage said, also, there is no silence. We always hear something, but also a silence speaks. And for your idea to say, I work with that, that's part of my, as Beckett and so many others, that this is, the powerful moments in between, and like in music, and yeah, that is significant. What you do and what you provide and what you offer, and so also to hear from you say, I'm writing differently. COVID, the crisis, the virus, it really changed you or regrounded you, or it has a profound impact on your life, but also on your artistic work.
Yes, I think I really was before the COVID in a sort of revolution, but the COVID accelerated, and I think that it's important. I understand that what I was writing was important to be written at this moment also, but I think that it's important to go to the essential and to connect us with what is essential. Nature, our roots, our universe, our way to be, the importance to share that and to recognize that each people have the way to be, and it's very rich for the world to have your unique way to be. We don't have time we don't have time to try or to no, it's important to be yourself, and to be yourself individually and collectively, yes, I think this moment connect me stronger again with that essential way to tell about us, to tell about me, and to tell about us, to focus on what is essential to say.
And what you said about the invisible world, and what nations went to war about, whether it's the idea of democracy or religious ideas or love. It's not visible. These are invisible entities and values, but yet they are so important, and but we don't see them. And I think art and theater especially helps us to do that, and everyone has to redefine it. And your courageous ideas to say we have to tell the stories we haven't been told, and also, I know that also the stories you then tell also make you put you in danger. You can be attacked. You are up to, you know, criticism that, you know, perhaps in Germany, France, or America, in New York will not be as violent, as serious, because they don't mean as much as they do in your context. What do you think about Black Lives Matter? Is that reaching Jamaica? What does that mean to you? And that it happened in Corona time? What does that, is Martinique reacting to that? You already said there were some statements, but what are the
reaction?
Reactions?
Oh, it was really strong. People are very upset about that. They are very sad about that. There were some rassemblements, des manifestations.
Yeah, demonstrations.
Demonstrations here in Fort-de-France.
Yeah.
Moments where people had wanted to se recueillir, to think about what happened to George Floyd. And this also, this sad story also makes sense with our own story of violence, in fact. I think that it's also all the movies were telling about apartheid or discrimination in the United States that learned us also that we are discriminated also, but we don't see it the same way in France because it's softer. But so this sad story make people really sad here, and the demonstrations in Fort-de-France, and they also show how here again we are there are a sort of racism, institutional racism also, because you know the institutions here are not directed by Black people. In France, generally, they are it's very rare in France. So yes, it's very important for us to demonstrate about that. And you know, we lived a strong moments here in Martinique, because the 22 of May is the day of liberation, insurrection, liberation from slavery. And this day, a group of young people decided to make
to make a document, a monument, tear down a monument.
A monument. And this monument was the monument of Victor Schellcher, who is the French politician who struggled to impose the abolition of slavery here in Martinique. But this act make a lot of it was just before the story of George Floyd, so this was a lot of stories who connected one with the other, and this make a lot of mess here in Martinique, and the politicians were not okay with that. Emmanuel Macron write a tweet about that, that it's not good to do that, in fact. But we see what happened. You know, in Europe, there are a lot of monuments who were down like that. And when this happened, I was very surprised. And then I tell myself, but it's normal. It's normal, because where are we? There are not a lot of monuments who are celebrating the slaves, the black ones who struggled towards slavery. History, the big history, want to learn us that it's Victor Schellcher and only Victor Schellcher who abolished slavery, but it's not true. Slaves was rioting on the plantation. They are struggling to impose for slavery to be abolished. And the big history don't tell us that. There are no monuments here in Martinique who telling you about this aspect of the history.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's
and
time.
The way it's what I was telling you at the moment. It's we erase systematically. We erased. We are even invisible. Just invisible. And that's why this act makes sense. In fact, that doesn't mean Victor Schellcher did not exist. I think that that means where are we?
Right. It should
it's
be.
not the only one. Where are we? We need to see ourselves, to consider ourselves like not only heroes, but the actor of our own life or of our own history. There are no place for that.
It needs to be represented. So it's time for a monument. I think Brecht said that many others, and many others, that history is written by the victory powers. So the victor, who has his own a monument called with his first name Victor. So exactly. It is kind of emblematic, and and we need to have a representation, as you say, of lives, of events, and it has to be truthful. And it also has to acknowledge suffering and death. Exactly. And there have to be apologies, real apologies. I think the country of Australia did a very big national day of mourning and apology to the indigenous people. Everything stood still. And of course it was, in a way more a statement of, but still it contributed, to healing. I mean, this is, your work is so significant and so important, and we were privileged to have you with us with our Caribbean readings. We were also a little bit shocked when we found out that not even in France there had been a reading series ever of plays from the Caribbean. It was the first one, and we worked together fantastically with the French Cultural Service in New York, with Nicole and Laurent, both of them, who also said, we have to have Daniely on. And so we did something great here, and I learned so much. We should know more, and we should go to the Caribbean, not as tourist islands. We should see there, as you said, as a representation of the universe and the idea of something new. Yesterday, Spider-Woman said, perhaps we're living in a time of a new mythical creation. Like there are creational myths in Native American stories where things develop and you don't know how it will end. That's where we are at the moment. Exactly. And perhaps, this is what we have to do in theater. As Saman Amini, that young Iranian guy who lives in the Netherlands, an actor who did his own play, seat at the table, said, I do it because then the white people for an hour and a half, they have to shut up, they have to sit in the seat, and they have to listen to what we do, what we have to say. So he, as a guy from Iran, worked with Black actors. He felt in the Netherlands, we are not represented, we are not there, we are mistreated, and the country gave him a big chance to come in, but also gave him a slap in the face on the same time, which is not easy to deal with. And what, as a final observation from you, I wish I had a big garden and I could be in there and take flower bath, like your grandmother says. We all don't have it, but I think if you can, yes. Also yesterday, the Spider-Woman said, touch the trees, listen to the birds, put your hand in the earth. But what advice do you give, let's say, a young artist, if it would be a Daniely who is in Paris 8 as a studying young artist, or people, or our listeners at home? How should they use the time of Corona? And for artists, what should they do? What should they engage with? What forms of theater work, from your experience in your plays?
I would tell them to be audacious, and to not not to take example on what exists, but to go another way, but to conserve, to keep what is essential for me in theater is for me, theater have a essential ritual form. It's a form of ritual. We are together. We take one time together around something we share. It's important to have that, to be one with another, to our flesh is together. Okay, you understand? It's cool?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay. To keep that, the ritual, the ritual way to make theater, because I think that this ritual way make us travel together, to make us transform together, make us walk together, go away together, feel together, connect us together with the what is central is in ourselves together. And it's this together thing that is magic, that make the invisible world, that make this invisible work exist, and that make us feel this invisible way to be, because we have all an invisible way to be, but we are not connected with that. And I think that culture of sciences and rationalism make us erase that. And I think it's simply human, and you can separate human from his spiritual way to be. Also, we have concrete way to be, but we have also dreaming lifestyle. We have dreams. We work with our dreams.
Yeah.
And you can't. It's like a blaspheme, or it's like like your avorter.
Abort, yeah, blasphemy,
of yourself.
Abortion. Yeah.
It's important to reconnect with our nature. Nature. No. I think that this is one of my phantasm or my dream, but this story of COVID make us oblige us to go back to our unity, our own humanity, to refeel who we are, how we live, how we take time to be, with the others or with our family. Yeah. And it's sad because we lost a lot of people. We lost a lot of people, but I always try to understand what each strong experience have to learn to teach me. I always search that. Yeah. And I think it's telling me that be yourself and be essential. We don't have time. We don't have time. We are fragile. We can die. It's important to say, to be who you are during your life. Important.
It's a big lesson to know about, then to realize and make it changes even bigger and to implement it. But this is a most significant advice you give us. And also the idea, I mean, the virus is invisible too, right? What it attacks us. And now we know who we are. Our outer skin is the one where we don't want to get the virus too. So what's inside, what's outside Countries are closed down. We are closed down. We don't see others. So really, it is a moment to reflect. And I think all what you said is so significant. It is so important, and for our audiences too. You know, there's something in there that might save our lives, and in a time where our lives are at danger. I remember Taylor Mack saying, "We survived the AIDS crisis, and now a handshake can kill me." Someone sneezed in it, and there's protein in it. It's incredible time where we live in, and it's good to be facing these questions. We try perhaps to avoid. Daniely, this was most significant. Thank you for taking your time and your energy and sharing that most beautiful assessment. Also, how you see theater, what you do, and to everybody, yes, go and see the Caribbean and go there as a place, not as a trip, but go there, spend time, engage with it. For us, the week will go on. Daniely, we have to say goodbye, but tomorrow the great Eugenio Barba will be with us, the most significant force also in theater from an experience with Kortowski. He left his studies, and with actors who got rejected, who, you know, the art school says, no, you're not good enough. We don't want you. They said, yes, we are. And we can do our theater, and we are all artists. And so he created a body of work that's unique. And the Odin Theater, you can also check it out. He will tell us tomorrow what this crisis also means for him, or what he's thinking about. And it's very generous and kind of him, as it is of you. Paul Price, an American actor and director, will share us. He directed some play you know about, right?
Yes.
And with our Caribbean race, he directed your work. So I thought also this would be a good pairing to have him as a New York artist with us today. And Friday we have Liva Yazzi from Syria. She lives in Berlin. She's a writer, a poet, also writes a television series. And what does it mean to be a young woman, a writer from Syria, not with your home, and trying to make sense out of this world? She wrote a play about goats, where the Syrian government gives a family where a young man died a goat. And she said, what does that mean? Where do we live in? What are those times? So I can't wait also to hear from her. Thanks for HowlRound for hosting us, BJ and Thea and Travis. It's wonderful that you give us the time and support the Segal team, Andy and Sun Young, and to you listeners especially. We went also a bit over time, but it was important to hear these voices from the Caribbean, French Caribbean voices, and their history, and how they are also connected to the bigger stories we are experiencing now. This awakening that is happening about that, you know, slavery that is so prominent, and as Daniely said, is in our shadow DNA, and we have to become aware of it. We don't see it, it's there, and it's hurtful. It makes you sick. It makes us sick not to tell the stories. It makes us sick not to hear those stories, and theater can help towards the healing. And so all of your audience for taking the time and listening is important, that she knows Daniely people are interested and they care, and we do care, and mankind does care for each other, and especially artistic communities around the world echo your stories, and this was an important contribution. So really thank you all for listening.
Thank you,
in this time that's so busy for everybody, strangely enough. And stay all safe, and stay tuned in, and hope to see you again. And Daniely, all my best, and one day I'll come and see the garden of your grandmother, so I will be there one day. Okay, bye-bye. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.